Hey everyone, today we've come out to see Daniel. Daniel's got this crazy Power Slave XC, and Daniel's going to give us a bit of insight in what it takes to run and maintain a beast like this. Hey everyone, today I'm here with another Daniel.
Another one.
Good name.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
And we're here to talk about Power Slave, your XC,
Yes.
mate. Yeah, this
My
thing
girl.
looks pretty staunch, mate. Tell us a bit about it. How long have you had this one?
Over 20 years. She is the original Excellent 408. She used to be gold, well, it was a copper bronze, I should say, with black racing stripes. It was a daily when I was in high school, and then after that, turned into a drag car after that actually.
Yep.
Hit the burnout scene for a while as well. She started off, she's actually original GXL.
Yeah, I was going to ask if it was a numbers.
Yeah, it was original GXL 302. Had electric doors, electric windows, electric console. Sold it all. Put it back in. I can't even find it. The last ones I found was $5,000 for the electric windows and the interior. So that was a bit of a hindsight thing that I lost out on 20 years ago.
Look, we see a lot of that when we're talking to people about old cars. So you're not the only one.
Yeah, so then we turned it into full drag. Was getting some good times. And then it just got too expensive. So then started going to the exhibition round. So, you know, you're doing your summer nats and your West Coast nats and Gaza nats and all those rounds, just having some fun. The real reason the car got to this point, basically, was because the ADRs and the rural road registrations, VSB 14's a joke. So we can't get these modified cars on the roads. So I went exhibition, have some fun at the tracks and do what I want to the car, and away we go. And that's basically how the car came to where it is now. She's a 410 cubic inch stroker. She's a true Cleveland. Not a lot of people use the Windsor bottom end or the Boss bottom end. This is actually a 100% Cleveland. Cleveland journals, Cleveland crank, the whole lot. But it's running 8 Darten sleeves. It's the only way I can hold them together. The Cleveland block splits. They split no matter what. With the horsepower she's pumping, it's 8 Darten sleeves was the only way I could get it to hold together. We've down tuned it. She's got 880 at the rear wheels now. Guessing it's about 1,000 at the crank, maybe a bit less. But usually at this current figure it's at, with this low boost setup, it's surviving. I'm having fun, I'm in top gear, and it's surviving.
Awesome.
When I was running 20-pound boost, I was just breaking block after block after block. And transmissions. I think it's Gonzo, he's fixing the next one.
Yeah, fair enough. So horsepower's been in the blood from a young age by the sound of it. It's something, that's the direction you wanted to go?
At a young age, I used to be part of Wise Guy Racing, which is drag bikes. So it was me, my uncle Keith Bentley, Tony Paul. We used to race with the Wise Guy Racing, racing the old Kawasaki B1s, the 1000 Quackers. They're only 10-second bikes at the time, but they were cheap and affordable to do, especially for me being a 20-year-old at the time when I was. Ryan, which is still racing Wise Guy Racing, him and his father took out a national record with the current bike they got now.
Awesome.
So that's been going for 20 plus years, that team.
Yep.
I went away from bikes, so did my uncle. He had a major crash and never went back on the bike again.
Yeah, okay.
And I just wanted to go into cars. Started building the car. Well, I had the car really before for the drag bikes, and then I wanted to put the car into the track, and then I realised how expensive it is. Should have stayed with the bikes. But then as money became available, more things got done. And then the car got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
The only reason she's orange now is in 2017 at West Coast Nats. If you ask Richie Howlett, he calls me Shovels.
Okay.
And the reason Richie Howlett calls me Shovels is that in 2017 was the first time I had a blower on it. And me and Julian Scafidi were just running amok at Barbagallo Raceway, and we kept landing in the dirt.
Okay.
Went through the chicane, landed in the dirt, got towed out again, power skid, landed in the dirt. Poor old car copped the hiding. Then on the last lap, came down through the chicane, took the chicanes out, 2 bullets like this, smashed the arse end of the car apart, parked it up, car's looking oil everywhere, smoke, sand. We just looked at it and went, we had some fun.
Yeah,
and then,
fair enough.
Then she got rebuilt after that.
You've just noticed the sun,
yes,
the stripes on the bonnet in the sun. I didn't see that until the sun hit it.
That's right. So this car was painted by my brother-in-law, Kevin Black. The guy has more, he's that OCD, it's unbelievable. You see how the car's very, very flat. The paint is probably 4 years old. I have damaged it a lot since Kev has painted it.
Well, it sounds like it's a driven car.
I don't hide it. It comes with a trailer. If you actually look on the two-outer guards, you can see where the straps have robbed the paint off because it's always going to the track. But when he painted the car for me, I was actually going to put black Cobra stripes over it, just stickers so I could peel them off. And he goes, one better. I never knew what was going on until I got the car.
Yeah.
Then when I saw the car, if you have a look, the stripes are there. They go all the way over the roof, down the back bumper, and there's also Cobra silhouettes down the side.
Okay.
They have to be in the right sunlight.
Yeah, we'll have to try and catch those with the cameras. All right, mate. Well, look, I reckon we should have a look under the bonnet and see what's going on with this mountain of metal.
It's a bit dirty under there, but
that's all right. That's all right.
for next year, the engine bay is getting done.
The proverbial mountain of metal.
Yeah, basically, it's the motor that said that couldn't be done.
Yeah, okay.
To be honest, because all the Cleveland guys said I'm crazy.
That's what you're talking about before, the Cleveland block being weak.
Yeah.
When you really put the power into them, they can't handle it.
They split, and I've got plenty of blocks at the back of the split. It just happens. It's a known fault with the Cleveland. I'm a Cleveland guy. All my mates, we just love the Cleveland. The amount of money I've wasted trying to prove people wrong, and I haven't really proven anyone wrong or right, to be honest. But I'm enjoying what I'm doing, and I'm making the power. And this combo now is probably the only one that's surviving.
So talk a bit more into that combo. So you said something about sleeves before to
hold
them
together.
So
we found the only way, I found the only way to hold them together was to sleeve them. But there's two types of sleeves. There's an A sleeve, I think they call it, with the lips at the bottom of the bore, and they just push a sleeve in. But this runs the Darten sleeves, which have a top at the top.
Okay.
So they're also 8 Darten sleeves have been put into the block. It's fully filled full of crap. It's to the top. The only water goes through the heads. It's girdled. It's 4-bolt billet main caps. Danny from Performance Mods is the man. Unfortunately, Performance Mods is no longer around. He closed the shop up. He's had enough. Runs a scat crank, Oliver rods. They're called they're the Keith back piston, but they're just a custom piston.
Yep.
So I can get the comp into it. It's got a larger pin for the gudgeon. So the heads are AFD heads. They're basically a blank head. That's a blank head when Dave was doing AFD, and then he made the heads for me the way I wanted them done.
Okay. And
then UB Engineering made the manifold to suit the AFD heads, because AFD heads are wider. So then your manifold angles change.
Gotcha.
It was just a nightmare. So they're match ported to the head. Cam done by Total Performance. What's a comp cam? Custom grind cam. 738 lift. So the valve does touch the piston.
Wow. Okay.
So if you're not right, if I snap a timing chain, that's it.
Yeah, you're done.
Gone.
Yeah.
It's gone. It's the SVO style crank, so it has a thicker snout on the front of it. It's neutrally balanced. So most Clevelands are externally balanced. This one's neutral balanced, so it's more of a blower hub than it is a harmonic balancer. Teflon strips, it's only a 671. When the 871 was on there, the boost was easier to make, but the block, it's blowing blocks apart.
Blowing apart, yeah.
So back to a 671. She's sitting between 8-pound boost now. On methanol, methanol is, when I was first building it, it was all petrol, unleaded.
Yep.
You can't do nothing with it. You just can't get your timing, you can't get your power, car overheats.
Yep.
The day I converted to methanol, just opened up a whole new world of tuning and power and cooling.
Yeah.
This does not get hot. Does not get hot.
Even with the grout-filled block.
Yeah, even with the grout-filled block, it does not get hot.
So you get plenty of run time out of it when you're running it, that sort of thing?
We run a fill before we get any problems go. Mind you, it's only got a 40-litre cell. Well, originally, when we were on petrol, we used to get heaps of heat soak. Yeah. So even your starter motors wouldn't crank over. So if you look at the main cable, which you'll see it in the boot when I open it later, it's a big arc welding cable.
Yeah, okay.
Because I thought, well, heat soak, but since I've changed the method, I don't have those problems anymore.
Yeah, awesome.
You know, HPC coated extractors, so I tried to get the heat out as much as we can, but methanol was the saviour. The other trick too with this Cleveland versus other Clevelands, it's not really a secret though. Most people say you got to restrict the oil getting to the top, because the rocker covers fill up with oil and doesn't get back to the
I've heard of that.
Quick enough. And so every time I was restricting the oil flow, so restrict the kits, push rods, oil galleries, I was always losing number 5. I used to always lose that piston, that big end. Now I let the oil get to the top, but if I look on the engine, I've got drain backs everywhere coming straight out of the cylinder head.
Okay.
Straight in front of the catch cans.
Yep.
Going straight back into where the fuel pump used to be.
Okay.
So all my drain back, so now the oil gets up there and just drains back into the sump.
Yeah.
So I found that way works better than
trying to restrict
the oil going up. And I haven't done a number 5 big end since I've done that system.
Yeah, restricting oil flow just sounds like a bad idea to start
with.
Yeah, it just sounds wrong.
It
just
does.
even saying it, doesn't it? You know.
But I haven't got any photos. We've had the manifold off where the lifter bores are.
Yeah.
I've actually got oil feeds drilled into the lifter bores.
Okay.
Because they just don't do priority mains oiling, which is what Cleveland's down for. The Windsor do, which is why you'll see a lot of guys with the Windsor bottom ends and the Cleveland heads.
Okay.
Because you've got the better oiling system in the bottom and the stronger block, and away you go. Then you've got the best motor.
Yep.
But
and that was the basis of the Boss and that sort of thing.
Correct.
Wasn't it?
Yeah. But I was wanted to say no. I want Cleveland. Has to be Cleveland, and I'm doing it.
Yep.
But it's costing a lot of money. The motor can rev to 10. The top end has got it. Never tried it.
I was going to say, that sounds insane.
On a piece of paper, I've got everything to rev it to 10. I've pushed it to 8. I won't go any higher.
Fair enough.
I'm not worried about the top end, I'm worried about the bottom end. At 10, I'm pretty sure it'll let go. The only thing is, though, these blocks that are on, these are they call them, depends who you speak to, they call it a NASCAR block.
Okay.
Right, this is the XE experimental block. It just has the prefix XE on it. Doesn't mean it came out of an XE Falcon. It was just the experimental blocks. Heaps of rumours how they come about.
Yep.
There's probably only 1,000 of them made. I've managed to get a couple of those. They're the blocks I use because they come factory with a 4-bolt main. And also, too, the sump rails are thicker.
Okay.
So normal Cleveland
So just
block,
a bit tougher, yeah.
Yeah, they're a bit tougher. So they're the blocks I'm using.
Yeah.
I have used the high nitrate blocks. I've used the D-class. I've used the squares. I break them all. With this Darten sleeve combo and pulling the power out of it, I'm having more fun and more reliability out of this combo than I've had trying to break the horsepower.
What box and
So
diff
we're
are you
running, so C4 9-inch.
Yep.
It's a strange 9-inch, just twin rib casing with a bigger pinion. I have never had diff problems, but I've always had strong diffs from the start.
Yep.
It's only 31 spine axles. You can go 35s, but if it was full-time dragging and I'm launching off the line, I'd have to go 35 spines.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, but because I'm smoking the tyres, I don't think there's much pressure there. Tail shaft, just what they call themselves, final drive. They built the tail shaft. The C4 that's in it now is actually a C4 that I just built to get me going, and it launched itself. Before that, I had a Hughes box, launched that one. Before that was a Conan box, I launched that one. Now Gonzo is doing the next box. Gonzo called me a terrorist. They reckon that the C4s were named after TNT because they explode. However, I want to keep the C4 in there. So he's going to build it as best as he can. But he and I both know that it's not going to survive, but it's going to be better than what I've got now. The ultimate combo is either going to be a Turbo 400 or a Power Glide. But I might have to do it. I used to bleed blue blood. But what happens is you got to be realistic now, right? You got Holden, Chev, Ford. You mix them together, you got a perfect car. The thing I love about it most is that this is why I'm breaking the C4s. You're supposed to go first, second, third. It's the way the C4 likes it. But I just leave it in top and just put my foot down. And it just blows the tyres off. I've got to stop that. I've got to go first, second, third. But when you got that much power, it doesn't matter.
Will a full manualised shift kit help?
It's full manual. It's trans brake at the moment.
Okay.
And no, it's the way that the C4 is designed. It needs to shift through the gears.
Okay.
It's something
build
to do
up
with
the pressure or something.
Yeah, it's to do with the Ford clutch drum or something. Gonzo has explained it to me, but he's a transmission specialist. I'm the engineering specialist.
That's it, mate. All right, man. Well, I reckon we should go and have a look inside.
Well, this is the basic interior.
Yeah, definitely set up for race, isn't it?
It's got there's no hood lining because the cage is too high. I still kept these in there, try and give some sort of street appeal. Basically, dude, it was a street car, and I just put stuff in here. I removed the glove box to fit all the wiring.
Yeah, no, I can sell that.
EGT data logger, spark amplifier, boost controller.
Yeah, it's a full autometer set up there.
Yeah, full autometer setup. Blower gauge there, oil pressure, oil temperature, trans temp, water temp.
And just very practical, isn't it? Like it's built for purpose rather than prettiness.
Yeah, and that's right. And it's a sort of well, if I could make it pretty on the inside, but I just want to have fun with the car.
Yeah.
These door trims, I've had these since the car was, I don't know, first put them on years ago. Still got the original seats in it. Did have racing seats in it, but they're just uncomfortable trying to get in and out.
You're right, though, in saying that, all the original stuff's here.
Yeah.
I mean, except for the hood lining that's had to be cut off because of that.
Yeah, that's right.
But, you still got your back seat in, still got your rear door trims on. I assume your parcel shelf is still there.
Yeah, parcel shelf is still in there, yep, that's right. And center console's been taken out. But still, just new carpets in there.
And you haven't chopped into your dash or anything.
No,
so
I can still turn this car back to straight. Yes, correct. But like all the indicator stalks have been taken off.
Yep, so that's the original column, is it?
That's the original. No, that's an XD column. Because when I was first driving it, with the XE column, you only got the indicators here. XD has the wipers here. It used to be manual, so I've still got the manual pedal box in there. Maybe manual will go back at one day. But
well, you've got that option. If you've got the pedal box, that's one of the hardest things to find with these old cars.
They are. And I had 2 spare ones in the shed, and I just sold them. So
So I've noticed, zip tied to the back of your blower there, or your carbies on your blower there, you've got a snap-on pressure gauge of some
master oil pressure gauge. So the oil pressure gauge is here.
Yep.
And what was happening is at the track, you're doing a burnout, and the oil pressure was dropping off.
Okay.
And the data logger was shutting the car down. and I couldn't work out what was going on. I was getting upset and angry because we were losing events and losing time and coming back there, and I thought I had oil pressure engines problems. Pulled the motor apart twice to find out I don't have an oil pressure problem.
Yep.
I had an oil sender unit problem.
Oh, right, okay.
So we're at the track, when we started, the oil sender unit was on there. Went out for a skid, came back, car shut down because the oil pressure dropped. Speaking to people in the pits, everyone says, remove the sender, put your master gauge on and go out again.
Yep.
Went out again, mate. She never moved from 150 PSI.
Beautiful.
So I know that. So
that's just a manual
mechanical gauge that shows a true reading.
Yeah, fair enough.
All I've got to do now is go and buy a mechanical gauge and I'm going to bolt it in the same spot.
Yep, nice.
But for now, the master gauge is zip tied.
Well, whatever works.
Hey, it works.
You know, whatever gets you on the track on the day, isn't it?
That's exactly right. Well, when you think about it, I lost 2 gasket sets and bearing sets trying to find an oil pressure problem I didn't have. Other than that, yeah, there's really much, handbrake doesn't work.
Fair enough.
Well, the car wasn't registered. I actually took the plates off in 2017.
Is that when the blower came?
Yeah, when the blower came in. So there's actually photos of me and videos of me driving a car with a blower on the streets.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so hence why the other one got built.
Yep.
So that's why this one here, you can go have some fun with it, and the other one we can drive on the streets.
All right, well, let's go around and see how you got the boot set up.
It's just plain and simple. So basic tank's been removed.
Grass.
Yeah, holes in the side of tyres come through.
Yeah. That's the sign of fun.
And that's it. I'm just having fun, mate. Like we took the original tank out, and now I've got a flat floor in it. And the reason for that is you'll see when you look under there, to get the pipes in there.
Yeah, there's some massive cannons on the back of this thing, man.
That's it. And also, too, the other reason for it was to actually mount the cell. There's bars coming straight through there, so the cell mounts.
Oh, I got you. So it's got a good solid mounting point.
Good solid mounting point, yeah. But right now it just works. We've got the Aeromotive A2000 fuel pumps, massive filters, massive Teflon lines going to the back and the front with a returns into the tank. The great thing about it is I just undo that, put it into the tank and just drain the fuel out. Just turn the current, bang, fuel's drained.
Yep.
Away we go. Right now it's full of 2-stroke fuel.
Okay.
So because the methanol's corrosive, all I do was I drain all the methanol out of it. I then fill it up with 20 litres of 2-stroke. So it's almost like a probably 20-to-1 mix, 100 mils of...
Yeah, nice and slick.
Yeah, nice and slick, oily. Yep. And then I just fire the car up until it stalls. And then she gets parked up. The downside to do that, to restart the car from here, flushing the fuel out sucks. Because first you drain the tank, then you drain the bowls. But the first batch of methanol that goes through it gets murky because that 2-stroke won't mix with the methanol.
Yeah,
unless it's like a castor oil. If I was going to the track, I wouldn't worry about the murky fuel because your first half of the day is just driving around the pit, you see. So I would chew 50 to 60 litres of methanol just cruising. So that'll flush the system. If I was going to go onto a burnout pad, I would make sure that system's flushed and then I'd go out hard, you know. The only hard part with this car, when you store it for so long, it's because it's got a solid roller with such massive spring pressures, you've got to pull all the rockers off and release your springs. And then if you want to go for a quick cars and coffee, you've got to spend a night putting all reset on like fuck. So,
and that's the thing with these big ass cars, you know, the big motors and stuff, isn't it? The more horsepower you get, there becomes a system.
Becomes maintenance.
Exactly.
That's right. Exactly right.
And you've got to start it the right way. You've got to shut it down the right way. You've got
to store it the right way. It's just that's why I never wanted to go methanol. I thought, the system, cleaning it, flushing it, rah. Once I got the hang of it, it's nothing now. In saying that, everything I've got is Teflon and anodised and plastic, so I don't really see any side effects of what the methanol is doing. And I've got proper methanol carburetors with plastic bowls and stainless steel needles and seats. So everything on this car is to do with the methanol. But I'm sure if you've got a non-methanol carburetor that's been converted, because I've seen those, I'm sure shit will start corroding. But it's not that. The fuel system's one side of it. It's your pistons, your rings, your bearings, your rods, your cranks, because the methanol sits inside your oil. So the main thing you got to do is drain that oil. And that's the downside. That's the biggest downside I have to the methanol. Is 2 skids, I'm draining oil. It goes white and milky. Out it comes, a fresh batch goes in. So I'm literally buying...
So you go through a fair bit of oil.
I don't know if I need to, but in my head I feel better by doing it. And so when I park the car up, it gets drained. A fresh batch goes into it. I fire it up. I let it burn off. So I let it idle away for 20 minutes. So it's getting to temperature, but it's just idling. Therefore it burns the moisture out of the engine. And then I park it up. You're idling for hours.
Yeah,
well, not idling for hours, but you're idling for a good 20 minutes.
Yeah, and I imagine this has got a nice whistle to it with the blower and everything.
Yeah, and when she's cold, she's got a slow hunt. When she's warmed up and ready to go, she hunts like crazy.
Yeah.
I can tune that hunt out. Now, people bitch about the hunt all the time. Oh, it doesn't know how to tune his car. Rah. No. The tune on the hunt is because it's rich. All right. The reason I want it rich is because it revs. So I don't want it leaning out at high RPM. So if it's fat, I know it's fat, I know it's safe. It might blow flames, but I know it's safe. If it was near a fire car, you can tune it out. No problems at all. You go on the dyno.
Just explain what the hunt
The hunt is when the blower makes boost, right? Leans the fuel out, brings the revs up. The fuel goes in, drops the revs. Blower brings them boost, so it's fighting itself.
And that's why you see those big blown cars going, and they're just idling. They're
just idling.
It's not someone hitting the gas.
No. In the if you haven't got a blower and you say that, it's a foot cam.
Yeah.
Also too, but in saying that as well, with the car, when this car's like medium warm, if you don't blip the throttle every now and then, so you'll see us driving, and then you'll see us blip the throttle, and everyone goes, "Oh, you're being a dick." No, we're not. It's fueling up. The car's literally fueling, and it's about to stall, so we're blipping the throttle to go. So, people, it's a I don't know. People laugh about it, but at the end of the day, get a blown car on methanol, and then tell me that you can't blip the throttle. EFI cars don't, but then again, they fuel up as well. So once it fuels up, you've got to blip that throttle.
Yeah, well, if everything's pushing for that 800 horsepower, isn't it? And you're doing 20 k's around the summer nats or something like that.
Yeah, that's right.
You're going to get more fuel up the
top.
They
don't want to idle. They don't want to idle.
Yeah. So the flat floors to accommodate what's going on underneath there, and those cannons are huge.
They are massive. So basically, it's 3.5-inch exhaust. Well, the extractors are 2-inch primary extractors, 3.5-inch till it gets to the diff, and then it's 5-inch from there. And the only reason I chose 5-inch is because they just look cool.
With the methanol, you've sort of got to have them hanging out the back a bit, don't you?
You've got to get the fuel out. You've got to get past the cars. If you had dumpies and you caught fire, man, that's a big fire. And methanol, see, you can't see it when it's on fire. Like you could be burning and you don't see it. So a lot of people are very blasé when it comes to a methanol fire, especially the crowd. They go, "Oh look, there's a fire, mate. That's cool. It looks cool, but man,
there's some big problems happening.
There's some big problems with methanol, which is why we've got to wear fire suits and we've got to wear face masks, the fire-rated boot. We have to be androtect. Methanol is a dangerous fuel, but it's got so many good things about it too.
Yeah. Not had any big fires yourself?
Oh yeah, the arsenal's been on fire. If you look under the car, it's been on fire plenty of times.
Yeah. Okay. One's never enough. Quite often, there's always something happening in the background. So tell us what's going on here, man. This looks pretty crazy.
This is what would you call it? A bastardised mongrel breed. It's a XF 1-tonner. That's the best way of explaining it.
Now, the way the roof is, it looks like it's been made out of a panel van.
Panel van, correct. Yeah. It's made out of a panel van. I actually found it in a paddock in Lower Chittering.
Okay.
We got it for the right price and took it home, and then obviously we found the story behind it and who owned it and who built it and rah rah. Okay. I've got all the engineering paperwork for it. This was actually engineered and licensed for the road.
Cool.
But I didn't buy it for that. I've still got the paperwork, but this car's getting chopped up and it's going to be used to have fun with it.
So another drag style?
Yeah, this one, originally I was going to build it for burnouts, and I might see the burnout track the beginning of its life.
Yep.
But when I saw how much room is at the back of this car, I want this in drags. I've changed the Barron, I've changed the technology.
Twin turbo sort of setup here is a bit different, isn't it?
Yeah, so I'm still working on the exhaust manifold there. That's a work in progress. I've sort of reached my peak and limits when it comes to the Clevelands, and I still love my Clevelands. But I want to try a bit of cheap horsepower. Like the Holden guys do, they use their LSs. And what better way to beat an LS with a 6-cylinder? I can make more power than that for half the price. So I'm going to give it a shot now.
Well, it looks pretty crazy, man. So we'll have to come back when you get this thing fired up, and we'll
probably another 6 months, and we'll be driving it. So
yeah, cool.
Well, I actually stopped working on this to work on this.
Yep, fair enough. So this is the one you mentioned before about the future tow vehicle for that.
Yes, one? Yes. So long story short, my daughter had a rusted house XB shell because it's an XB shell. It was rusted. I've got the photos of it. It was bad. It was horrendous. It was to be honest, it should never have been saved. But it was a way for me and my daughter to connect, so we basically sat here for hours and hours and hours, cutting rust out of the car, going to rare spares and grabbing rust repair panels, and they don't fit. Making them fit.
Yeah.
Most of the stuff that's on this is actually the stuff out of that. So the motor in this was the motor out of that. Yep. The manual in this is the manual that was out of that. And the diff that's in this is the diff out of that. But like all your trims, your seats, all the stuff that was just going to get thrown in the bin has been recycled and reused. We're at a stage now where the car's so close, the clear's only been sprayed on, I'm going to say 4 weeks ago, so it still needs to be cut we bombed the clear and we painted it in here.
Okay.
So if you have a look in the paint, you'll see nibs and you'll see dust in the clear.
But the expectation was to block it back and...
Block it back and buff it. This is not a show car, this is a drive car. It was built to be licensed and to tow that. We can't drive that on the street, but I can drive this down to Cars and Costa Coffees, I can take it to work. I can just
and how convenient having a ute as well?
So we're probably only about, realistically, 2 months away and she's registered. So yeah, it's a car built out of leftover parts. It's the best way to explain it.
How good's the motor in this one then?
Well,
because if it came out of that, I assume it was sort of
so that's
fairly good.
It's another 408 cubic inch Cleveland.
Cool.
So it's basically another 4340 with an SVO snout. That motor can run the blower. However, I changed it to a set of 4V cast iron heads. So now, and they've been shaved, so the comp's now too high to run the blower. But as an NA, Jesus, it goes right. Change the cam, change back to a hydraulic flat tappet. There's no more roller cam in it. Back to a hydraulic flat tappet because this car needs to start and drive and be stored. Like, I need to get the street ability back into it. I've got standard rocker covers over there. I want to pop this engine bay and it look standard.
Another one back on the road.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. All right, Daniel, look, thanks heaps for showing us your car today, mate. Such an extensive build like this, I'm sure you had other people involved.
Oh, plenty of people involved, mate. Basically, big thanks to best mate, Julian Scafidi. He helped out a shitload with the car. And mainly my sponsors, mate, Guildford Garden Machinery. They've paid for most of this vehicle. Murphy's Tyre Power down in Midland, Chris Murphy, he's paid for basically every single set of tyres this thing's done.
Yep.
And D&. Claff from Performance Parts in Mandurah, which was the old Dickers speed shop. They're the ones that supply us most of the things for this car. So thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate it.
Awesome, mate. And thanks for giving us such a great insight into what it takes to run something like this on a daily basis, because I don't think everyone realises what's involved when you actually go blown methanol.
Blown street versus blown competition is a lot different.
Yeah.
Blown street, they're both fun, but it's like I said, it's just the pack-up time. The pack-up time changes. That's all it really comes down to.
Awesome. Look, thanks so much, Daniel.
Thank you very much, bud. I appreciate it.
And we'll see you around the traps.
Excellent. Thank you. See you guys.
Also guys, don't forget to jump on the website and check out our merch. It really helps us out a lot if you make a purchase. Also, like, share and subscribe to this video. That helps us out more than you can think.